Hello and welcome back to Kim Reads as we continue with A Free Woman on God's Earth. Chapter 3. As Bet grew to be a young woman, Mrs. Ashley began relying on her for the smooth running of the household. Although the mistress didn't like to admit it, she knew that because of Bet, the house was always bright and warm, the meals prepared on time, the larder plentiful with vegetables from the garden, and the silver polished to a sheen. And though Bet ran the household better than her mistress, a kind word never crossed Mrs. Ashley's lips. When Bet was in her mid-20s, she married a young man, a fellow slave, who lived nearby in another household. Although they were married, Bet had to stay on the Ashley farm and couldn't live with her husband down the road. The colonel did not allow the sharing of households. In spite of that, Bet grew in happiness. She spent as much time with her husband as possible. Sometimes Sundays and evenings were their time together. Before long, they had a child, and they called her Little Bet. Bet loved teaching her the things she knew and loved. Little Bet, come here, put your nose in this bouquet. Do you know what that is? Yes, Mama, lavender. Well, pick some for Mrs. Root. She is making soap and needs a sweet-smelling herb. Little Bet knew what herb to pick and did what she was asked. With Little Bet was always by her side, Bet began to be known affectionately as Mum Bet. Perhaps because she deserved the title Ma'am, perhaps also because she took care of so many of Mrs. Ashley's neighbors when they were sick. By contrast, people called Mrs. Ashley a harridan and a shrew because of her uncontrollable temper. The slaves and servants were afraid of her, all except Mum Bet. She often protected them from Mrs. Ashley's angry tirade. She knew how to handle her mistress, and Mum Bet knew her own worth, and she was scared of no one. One day, when the apple blossoms were in bloom, a shabbily dressed young girl appeared in the garden where Mum Bet was hanging out the linen. The girl's eyes cast downward, asked to see Judge Ashley. Judge was not at home, but Mum Bet, knowing the mistress would never want to see the girl in her house, silently beckoned the child to come in. Then looking around, she swiftly led her into a small bedroom off the kitchen and motioned her to sit down on the bed. She shut the door behind her, hoping the mistress would not see, but as the door clicked shut, Mrs. Ashley met her in the hallway, her eyes flashing like a cat's. Seeing no way to hide the child, Mum Bet threw open the bedroom door, for she was determined to stand by her. "What does that baggage want?" Mrs. Ashley demanded, pointing her finger at the unfortunate girl. "To speak to Master," Mum Bet replied calmly. "What does she want to say to your master?" Mrs. Ashley's eye glinted dangerously. Mum Bet frowned back at her mistress. "I don't know, man. Get out of here," Mrs. Ashley bellowed. "She has no right to be in my house." Folding her arms across her chest, Mum Bet took a deep breath. Turning to the girl, she said, "You sit still, child." Mrs. Ashley contorted with rage. "It's my house. Get out." Gesturing to the girl, Mum Bet repeated calmly, "Sit still, child. She shall go." Rising to her full height, Mum Bet seemed to tower above her mistress. "No, missus, she shan't. If the girl has a complaint to make, she has a right to see the judge. That's lawful and stands to reason besides." Mrs. Ashley stared at Mum Bet, knowing she could say nothing to this. She stomped off in a rage. Mum Bet stood for a full minute, looking down the hall where her mistress had gone. Then she patted the tearful girl on the head and said, "Don't you worry, the colonel will see you when he comes home. Mrs. Ashley knows that when I put my foot down, I keep it down." When the colonel arrived home that evening, Mum Bet, holding the candle high, entered his study and said, "Sir, there is a young girl who is going to see all day. May I bring her in?" "Waiting to see me? What about?" "That's for her to tell. Bring her in." The girl was shaking as Mum Bet held her hand and led her to the judge. Mum Bet stood silently against the wall as he questioned the child. Then, trusting her master to be kind, she took the candle and left the room, shutting the door quickly behind her. Later that night, Colonel Ashley spoke to Mum Bet. "You did right by that child. She had a grievance that could not wait." Thank you, sir. And that's the end of that chapter. See you later.